New year, new me. This is going to be one of the best years of my life. How many times have you said that to yourself, and how many of those goals that you set at the beginning of the year have you actually achieved? And don't get me wrong, New Year's is a great time to reflect and make changes, but I don't think it's something that we should rely on to make the changes we know that we need to make on a consistent basis to make and achieve the life that we truly want. And it's no wonder why more than 80% of the people quit their goals within the first 3 to 5 months. And I'm speaking about, when I say goals, New Year's resolutions. And this is not speculation. There's actually been some research done around it where, for example, with weight loss, which happens to be the most popular resolution, they see these drop-offs of more than 80% from people after the first 3 to 5 months of the year. So if you really want to crush it this year, you have to stop setting goals and you have to start setting standards. Why? Because the game is consistency. And the reason I say standards and not goals is mainly because of this that I'm going to share with you. This is a quote that I heard once from a mentor of mine that I think it makes this point incredibly well. And as soon as I start applying this, I think it's already been 3 years. Yeah, 3 years ago, it just changed my life completely. So this is it. We are not the highest version of ourselves which we can imagine. We are the lowest version of ourselves which we can accept. Understand that you will do nothing to achieve your dreams, but fight like hell not to reach your standards. So if you want to achieve your dreams and your goals, you must turn them into irrefutable standards. So in 2022 and 2023, I achieved some of the biggest goals that I had since I started this journey, like launching an online business and getting it to a 10K a month, as well as this physical transformation that I'm going to be sharing here somewhere in the video. And it was all by applying these and setting goals instead of standards. So yes, goals are great for direction, but standards are the things that actually make those goals happen. So as we kick off this year, I thought it would be great for me to share some of the standards and projections that I have for this year, since I will be documenting and sharing all the journey. And it'll be fun to look back to this video and see how things developed, how you'll be able to see how I applied this and how I actually use this to achieve them. So you can do the same for you and achieve your goals and just crush this year. So with that being said, as I said, here are some of my standards and projections for 2024. So I like to divide it in business and personal to make sure that I step on top on things, but I believe everything is connected, right? Like that in the end, everything affects everything. So I always take that into consideration, that even though I'm setting things for my personal life as well as my business, I make sure that those nurture each other, right? So the reason why I started putting a lot of emphasis in this, being completely honest, is because after going through a breakup in 2022 that was really rough and just having a lot of changes in my life, I came back to Mexico City, where I'm originally from, and I just focused completely on my business and my fitness. And I stopped taking care of a lot of other personal aspects in my life, which for a season, it was really, really good. And it really, really helped me for like a year. I would say I was like really, really focused on those things. But I definitely neglected some things that ended up affecting me and crippling back up, and just, biting me in the ass a couple of months after. So after learning that lesson in 2022 and 2023, I want to make sure that 2024, I have all of the pieces in place, the standards taken care of in all of my areas so that I can sustain my performance at an optimal level in every area and do that throughout the whole year. So that being said, for business, so just want to make it clear that after a lot of reflection, I see this year as a year of building the foundations when it comes to my business. And there's an analogy that I love for that if you want to build a building, the taller the building, the deeper the foundation. And although my ultimate goal is to build an 8-figure or 8+ figure empire that impacts the lives of millions, and like an 8-figure business, a huge business, I understood after all of my experience this last 4 years or a little bit more in being an entrepreneur, that there are certain pieces that need to be in place to be able to build on top of that and actually achieve that level. So this year, after reflecting and understanding everything with all of the lessons, everything that I've done this last 3 to 4 years as an entrepreneur, I realized that there are still things that I need to set as part of like the foundations and get all of those pieces in place. So I see this year as that, a year where I'm still going to be building of the part of the foundations. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to be, achieving certain goals, projections, standards, which I'm about to share. But the main thing is that I see this as a foundation. I'm still building a super solid base that I'm going to be able to start building on top of it as the years come by. So when it comes to my standards and projections for this year, when it comes to the business, number one is having a success rate of at least 90% in my program. So I truly believe that delivery is everything, that your product, your service, the value that you provide to the market is everything, and that affects everything. And this comes from both my experience as a coach, but also as a customer, and me investing thousands of dollars in the last 3 years in multiple programs from the top names in the industry, and being failed multiple times in this industry by shitty programs, shitty delivery, shitty services. And as I said, I've experienced that both as a coach and as a customer. Like, being completely honest, some of my first programs and products like 2 or 3 years ago were not the best. And it was a combination of, lack of experience, but also me not having proper guidance from the mentors that I had where they emphasized that. So after everything that I've learned, I've realized that that is something crucial. I think that business is all about the gap between the price of your product or service and the value that you provide. Like, the bigger that gap is, the bigger that discrepancy is, the better your business, in my opinion. And the way that I like and the way that I want to do my business is by providing at least 10 times more value than what the people that I serve invest in me. So in order to do that, part of me keeping up to this standard of having a success rate of at least 90% in my program, I'm going to keep investing in myself, in my systems, to keep getting better as a coach and be able to serve my people at the highest possible level and deliver the best results, which means to me just keep learning every day, whether it's through books, videos, courses, certifications, whatever I need to do to make sure that I live up to that standard. So that is the first one, having that success rate. Second one, making 6 figures. So I've had multiple months where, since I started my business, where I've been at a 6-figure pace, where I've hit over 10K a month, but it hasn't been consistent. So this year I want to, as a bare minimum, and again, let me remind you, like, these things that I'm sharing, these are my standards. Like, this is the bare minimum. Like, this is not the ultimate goal. So this year, as a bare minimum standard, is hit that 6 figures by the end of the year and build a super strong foundation to build on top of that as the years go by. So as I said, my goal is not 6 figures. My goal, at least for now, or short-term goal, is to make 100K a month, but that is going to happen if I take the right actions, focus on the right things. So I'm going to focus on the inputs and the things that are within my control. And again, the standard will be 6 figures, because it's something, even though I've achieved it like some months, and just because of how my business has been changing during the last 3-4 years, I've tried a couple of different things, and I'll probably make another video sharing that story. But yeah, I haven't actually been consistent with one thing. So this year, that game and that standard for me is staying with that, sticking with that. Like, this thing that I have right now, something that I see myself doing for the next 10, 20 years. I love it. Having great results, just loving building this. And yeah, something that I'm super passionate about. And like, finally, with all of the lessons that I learned in the first 4 years, it feels that I'm extremely aligned. So now that I have that alignment, again, that is my standard, because it's something that I haven't actually done, even though I've had like really, really good months with different offers, different businesses that I've had. I haven't actually been doing that consistently for an entire year and hitting that. So that is the standard for this year. But again, that is a bare minimum. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to keep pushing and doing whatever I can to actually hit those bigger and higher goals. So the standard is making 6 figures this year consistently. Having that pace, that rate each month, while also having the 90% success rate. So not at the expense of the first standard, which is why I started with that, and having that as a bare minimum. So that is my second standard when it comes to business. The third one, building a personal brand. So one of the reasons why I'm creating these videos now is because I've realized that having a personal brand is crucial, and it's something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and I've been postponing it, and I shared a little bit about that in my previous video. But I really want to have a personal brand for multiple reasons. Yes, of course, it helps the business, but more than anything, and one of the main reasons of why I want to do business, is truly the impact. I want to have a big impact in the world and help as much or as many people as possible. And I think one of the best ways is by having a really strong and big personal brand. And I also actually happen to enjoy making videos a lot. So that's why I decided that building personal brand is kind of like the goal, but the standard is posting 3 YouTube videos each week. So this week and this first videos that you're watching are probably the example of that, of the first week of the year, me starting to do that. So the reason why I want to focus on YouTube, it's something that I haven't done since I started. But honestly, after thinking about it, I realized that this is the platform that is the most aligned with me in everything, in the way that I like to produce content, my style, honestly, also with the impact that I want to have. I think it's very hard, at least for me, to add and change someone's life and add a lot of value with like just a 60-second or 1-minute video on some of the other platforms of short form content. So my priority is going to be YouTube, and I'm going to be committing to 3 YouTube videos a week. That's going to be my standard, and what I believe is going to give me a lot of reps, experience, but also help me achieve that impact that I have and build that foundation. And I'm also going to be focusing on other platforms like Instagram, and I'm still gonna be honestly defining that in the next couple of weeks because, as I said, since I want to prioritize YouTube, but this is the first time that I do it, I just want to make sure and understand actually how it works and get a really good idea, get a gist of how this works to then know how much I'm going to be able to allocate to the other platforms. So that's the other standard. So those are some of the top standards that I have for my business. When it comes to personal, the first one is maintain a six-pack and stay lean and fit throughout the whole year. Great body, great energy, and be an example. So I've transformed my body multiple times, the last one being in 2022, where I achieved this transformation that I'm going to share somewhere here, where I lost over 25 kilograms from January to November of 2022. But from September to November, I did a bit of an extreme diet. So I lost like 15 kilograms. I went from like 100 to 80 in the first 6 months. So it was like slow, steady, but pretty good progress, decent progress in a very steady pace from like January to August. And then in August, I wanted to go harder with it, hired a personal trainer, bodybuilder, and I ended up doing a very extreme diet that I didn't know a lot about. But so from September to November for 10 weeks, I did that diet. I lost 10 kilograms. So I lost like the first 15 kilograms in the first 6-7 months and then 10 kilograms in 10 weeks. But doing that fucked up my whole system. And I'll make another video sharing all of that story. Learned a lot of lessons, super interesting. And I think a lot that I can share there that can add a lot of value to a lot of people. But basically lost 10 kilograms in 10 weeks. I, achieved an amazing transformation. Yes, I had this like photo shoot, took some great pictures, but as I said, it fucked up my whole system. And I gained 15 kilograms just 1 month after that. So in December, I gained 15 kilograms. So I basically lost all of my progress or even got worse, all of the progress that I made. As I said, I'll make another video because that story is a whole video by itself. A lot of lessons that I can help a lot of people. But long story short, I went very deep after gaining that weight. And I think that's something that I never shared before, honestly, because I was like really ashamed. I was like, how the fuck after losing all of that effort that I did for 10 months, especially the last 10 weeks that I went super extreme, super hard with this diet, losing all of this weight, I ended up gaining this weight and like losing all of the progress. Like it was, again, a complicated situation mentally, emotionally, physically, but I learned from it and I went super deep into learning. I was like, okay, how can I learn from this and make sure that doesn't happen again and understand what actually happened here? So for the next, I would say 3 months, I went super deep into learning about nutrition and how to do that properly and performance and all of those things, to learn how to coach myself first and foremost, to then be able to share it with other people, to have a great level of fitness that I could sustain for life. And after applying everything I learned at the beginning of 2023, I was able to get back in shape in May and achieve this level that you can see somewhere. I'm going to share the picture here. Get in this shape, this level of fitness. And I was able to sustain that throughout the rest of the year, including all of the trips, events, and I traveled a lot. So I've never actually, last year, yes, I was able to sustain that in a very healthy and really good way, feeling incredible, great energy levels, and physically looking pretty good. And I was able to sustain that from May until the end of the year. So even though, it was like kind of the first time that I was able to sustain that and not have like these crazy spikes. So I've never actually had a six-pack for an entire year, which is why I'm setting the standard for this year. And the six-pack is just a reference. The only reason why I'm using that is because, yes, obviously it's super cool and I like the way that I look, but more than anything, I feel really good. Like when I'm at around, like, I already know like what are like the benchmarks, and usually where I have like a very good defined six-pack around 75 kilograms. And again, I'll go more deep into that in other videos. It's where I feel, I look and feel the best. So that's kind of why I want to use that reference. So that's going to be one of my standards in the personal side of things. And it also helps me to be in a really good like mental state, because obviously the things that give that as a result is me taking care of the things that I eat, me exercising. So the accumulation of those things, which yes, reflect as a six-pack, also affect my life in a lot of other areas in a really good way and have a really good impact. So that's one of the standards. The second one, after, yes, having for the first time in my life, like maintaining a six-pack throughout a whole year, is nurturing my relationships. So in 2023, I made a lot of new and amazing relationships that I want to keep nurturing. And that includes family, but also friends that I met and fellow coaches in some of the trips that I went through, some masterminds, and just, some of the communities that I'm a part of. And I want to nurture those and put a lot of effort into that, because after the whole situation that I went through in 2022 and me just getting super focused in my business, in myself, and also I would say honestly the first 2 1 to 2 years of me going all in with entrepreneurship, it was a very lonely journey. Like, and I think I've heard this many, many times, like Hormozi and a lot of other people, Chris Williamson from Modern Wisdom, another podcast that I really love, Andy Frisella, like a lot of these really high level entrepreneurs that if you're watching these videos, you probably know who they are and you probably watch them as well. Speak about this, like the lonely path of the journey of an entrepreneur, where when you're someone who is like really focused on personal development and entrepreneurship, and you start like changing and growing, it's normal and it's common for you to like outgrow your environment, and you go through like this season or period where it's like I don't remember, like there's different names, but like the valley, I don't know if they said the valley of desperation, the lonely, whatever, something like that, where you basically no longer can relate with your old environment, and you're still not like someone who is worthy of being part of like the people who are ahead of you in that level. So I went through that. I would say I think it was like first year or first 2 years of my journey. And I mean, I wouldn't regret anything, but it was definitely, I mean, I have this quote or this saying to myself that I would rather be alone than with bad company, but I would 100% rather be with a good company than alone, right? So I learned that last year. As I said, I think 2022 was a bit of a lonely year. I mean, lots of growth and lots of lessons, but I was kind of going through that valley where I was like literally stepping away from my previous old environment and stepping into like this new person, getting these new habits in place, my business and all those things, and started building new relationships that year, by the end of that year in 2023. And it just was a big game changer. So I want to make sure that I nurture those new relationships that I made with amazing people. And that's going to be another standard. So just putting effort into that and keeping those relationships nurtured. And the last one is going to be to start dating. So yeah, I mean, as I've shared that a couple of times, that story, and I think I'm still going to create another video sharing the full story, because I learned a lot from that lesson and everything that happened, that it shaped a lot of who I am today and what I'm doing. But basically in 2022, I went through a very rough breakup, or it was like a very difficult situation for me. And I just went fully, completely focused on myself, on just getting myself together. I mean, I realized that there were a lot of things that I had to work on myself personally, physically, mentally, emotionally with my business. And in the end, I ended up realizing this. And I think it's something that I live by, and I've experienced it myself firsthand, and I've seen other people doing that as well. But as a young, and I mean, I'm going to speak as a young man, especially because obviously I'm a man and I cannot speak from the perspective of woman. I think it's really important with the three main areas of life where we have like health, or health or self-mastery. That's one area. You have wealth and you have relationships. I think there's a specific order that we should, as young men, aim to achieve mastery in. And this is coming from my personal experience. And again, some situations might be a little bit different, but after what I saw, I think it's really, really hard to, for example, try to have an amazing relationship where you haven't achieved mastery yourself, like where you're someone who doesn't have like the character traits of being someone who is disciplined, has control, who is consistent, who has grit. Like a lot of these character traits that, I mean, in the end, think about it, like building a business and achieving mastery in the wealth area or in relationships, you need to be adding value to other people, right? So if you're someone who is not like, who doesn't have it together, I think it's really, really hard to at least achieve a really high level or standard in those two areas. So the lesson that I learned, and the reason why after that breakup, I was like, you know what? I want to focus completely on myself. First, achieving self-mastery. That's what I kind of did. And once I achieved self-mastery, I was like, okay, now, and that's kind of the season that I'm at right now, is once that I have achieved self-mastery, and I mean, obviously there's still a really long journey ahead of me, but I would say that I'm definitely way ahead than the average person in terms of like the traits, the skills, the stuff that I developed after the journey that I put myself through in 2022 and 2023, and then moved into achieving mastery in the wealth area. And then after that, relationships as well. I mean, in relationships in this part specifically, I'm speaking mainly about dating, like life partner, like romantic relationships, because I mean, again, I think that was part of it. Like the reason why I was able to start making a lot of amazing new friendships and relationships in the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, was because of that journey that I put myself through as achieving that self-mastery. So a big important thing or standard that I want to have this year is also get back into the dating game, because I intentionally put myself out of that because I wanted to completely focus on myself before opening that door again after being in a relationship for like 5.5 years and all the changes and things that I was going through in this season of my life. I was like, you know what? I want to just focus on myself after I broke up and just achieve that level of mastery myself, get my shit together in my personal life, with my business, with my finances, my wealth, all of those things. And once I have those things at a certain level that I start feeling comfortable with, start then opening the door to that. So that's part of one of the goals that I have on the personal side for this year. So those are some of my projections and standards for the year. But who knows? Some of these things might change as I go this year. But right now, with the information that I have, this is what it looks like and what I'll be working on. So as I work on all of these things, I'll share my journey and lessons here, and anything that I can do to help you live life to its best and become a peak performer so you can crush your goals and reach your standards and projections in 2024 as well. So if you watched until now, thank you. I appreciate your time, energy, and attention. Let's make this year the best one of our lives so far, and I will see you in the next one.